Tahar, you're back. Dul already told me everything. He says you are a hero, that you are the only reason he is still alive.
Well, I am. Shar completely lost his mind.
Yes, I know. All this... Some part of me still believes it was all just a bad dream. Anyway, here. I think you should have this as a token of thanks. It's an old relic our forefathers brought over from the Forsaken Land, but there is no one in the village who could use it. At least not anymore.
I see. Thank you. What about the Nexus Stone?
Yes, the stone. I looked for it while you were gone. Is this it? It was found in one of the Hibernian ruins when our people first got here.
Yes, that's it.
Good. Is there anything else you need? If not, I would like to spend some time alone with my son. The village will need a lot of time to recover from this, and there's things we need to talk about.
Well, there is. Shar told me to tell you that he'd never come back.
It's probably for the better. Thank you, Tahar, and good luck on your journey. Ah, and don't forget to talk to our Valis about the portal. Unless you have a ship and provisions for a year's journey, it's the only way to get back to your country.
All right. Guess it's time to head back home. You ready?
What about the archaeologist, Whatley? He might want to come along.
Ah, right. Let's go talk to him. Will do.
More fighting. Does this never
place is
end?
a bloody graveyard.
Blasted armor. Fine.
That way? Sure.
Huh? This way, right?
Whatever's
Walking
necessary.
corpses. Take them down.
I'll do what's required. It will be bloody.
Danger up ahead!
You got it.
Prepare yourselves.
Here we go.
They will fall.
Let us see.
Yes? Have you taken care of Shar?
Yes.
Your name, they say it's Tahar, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, Tahar, I do not know how to ask this, but would you mind if I joined you?
Actually, I don't think that's a bad idea. He probably knows more about the Hibernians than any Nortander scholar. He might see something in Mullendeer or the Nexus which we haven't seen yet.
But what about your people? I thought you didn't ever want to return to the mainland.
They don't. I've always wanted to see what lies outside. Please, don't misunderstand. I want to return in time, but you... There's something about you that sparks my interest. And as a scholar, as a shaman, I can't think of a better way to learn about the wonders of this world than stepping through that portal with you.
Fine. You can come. But we'll be leaving soon.
Yes, of course, as soon as you want. I'll send someone to notify the Yaris. She will understand.
Sounds like a plan.
I'll do what's required.
Tahar, may I help you with something?
I'd still like to know more about how you ended up in Nortender.
Bugger and blast. And here I was hoping you'd forgotten. Alright, I'll tell you. But only under one condition.
Yes?
That I get to ask you a personal question too.
Then we have a deal. Go ahead, I'm listening.
Fair enough. I was born in the Windwall Mountains.
You don't say.
Sorry, still sorting out my thoughts. It's been a long time since I last told this story to anyone. Alright, one more time. As you can imagine, I was born in Windwall, a child of the rocks.
Come again?
A true dwarf, as some would say. Born in the buried city, not on the outside as the traders and farmers are. My family was quite privileged. Not nobility, but my mother and father led a big smeltery which supplied one of the finest smithies. Moon silver weaponry. Ever heard of it?
I think so. The commanders of the Royal Army used them.
Figures. Well, my childhood was a rather unremarkable one. I had two brothers and a sister, and even though I was the oldest child, I was always the most quiet one. I learned quickly how to wield an axe, and I still know how to do it, but I never took pleasure in it. The same goes for my parents' craft. For some reason, Nihalf had given me a talent for metallurgy, but not the desire to use it. Instead, my biggest love was always made with ink. Books.
But I assume your parents didn't approve of that.
Oh no, they didn't mind. I had 3 siblings who could do the job as well as I, so the future of our family was secured. On the contrary, they were quite accepting, which wasn't usual amongst dwarves, especially not those in Windwall.
Are the surface dwarfs different?
Depends. There are some who were very open-minded. For example, the traders who get around a lot. On the other hand, there are some who were as ignorant as the Windwallers.
Dwarves are traditionalists, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they are. They love their brawls, they love their ale, and they love their metal crafting. And they never miss a chance to tell the outside world just how much they do.
Well, to be honest, when I think of dwarven culture, that's exactly what comes to my mind.
See? And that's the problem. There's always diversity in every race. There are soft-hearted orcs, there are elves who don't give a damn about the white tree, and there are humans with... well, you get the point. What I'm trying to say is, many dwarves love living these traditions, but there are some, like me, who just don't fit in. This is one of the reasons why I appreciate you and this group so much, Tahar. Aenir's tools or not, we're all pariahs, in one way or another.
So, what happened? Why did you leave Windwall?
I'm getting there, Tahar. When I came of age, I found work in the Windwall Library. That time was also when I deepened my knowledge of the Shapers. I devoured all the books there were, and bought whatever writings the merchants brought in. They smiled at me, talked of me as the strange bird, but I didn't care. The more I read, the more spellbound I became. And the more I dreamed of journeying through Io to solve all those mysteries not yet uncovered.
Are there Shaper ruins in the Windwall Mountains?
Hardly. And those that are there are buried beneath miles and miles of rock. Impossible to access without a huge expedition.
Huh. And what kept you from doing just that?
Well, two things. First of all, my attachment to my family. Secondly, Gilak.
Gilead?
My, partner.
You had a partner?
Yeah. We met... I'd rather not go into detail too much. Fact is, we lived together for 6 years. He was very dear to me. Let's put it that way.
What are dwarven families like?
Similar to their human counterparts, I believe. Having family and offspring is considered to be very important, especially if you're of noble blood.
But living with someone of the same sex is acceptable?
Well, yes and no. If you do, you don't talk about it, and you should make sure to find yourself a wife or a husband to found a proper family, eventually, and bring new children of stone into the world, even if that family is just a charade. If you don't do that, you're frowned upon. There's even a word for a childless dwarf, man or woman. Galrag, which roughly translates as dusty boulder. Very amusing, I know.
They do have a point, though. For an empire to endure, there needs to be children.
I agree. But I doubt a few people with different desires living a different kind of life pose a threat. There'll always be men who like women and women who like men, and a couple of people whose tastes are different don't change the fact. And once again, the Shapers were different in that regard. As long as you stay within the boundaries of your caste, you could do as you pleased.
I understand. But something happened, didn't it?
Yeah. The Blackstone Rebellion. Ever heard of it?
Yes. A coup, wasn't it?
Yeah. An attempt to overthrow the royal house. It was bound to fail from the beginning. The rebels were anti-traditionalist and wanted to establish a new order, where it's the people who have the power, not the nobility. Gilak was one of these rebels.
Oh.
Yeah. At first, before the coup, they tried to raise awareness by giving underground speeches. A noble endeavor, but not at all thought through. Most dwarves just don't care about politics as long as they can have their mugs of ale. First, he didn't ask me to participate, but the more sour things went, the more he started pushing me. At one point, we had a fight, when he asked me to steal money from my family to support the movement. It was terrible. Finally, push came to shove, and he told me of the coup. He knew that despite my occupation, I was a remarkable fighter and Earthshaper, which is why he asked me to fight alongside him. You can make a difference, that's what he said. By Nihalf, he was just so naive. He really thought it would be like in the old legends, a group of courageous dwarfs fighting their way to Algrim Castle with me at his side. I just don't... Forgive me. It's strange to talk about it like this.
It's okay. Thank you for trusting me.
Yeah, sure. You can imagine how torn I was. I knew he'd die if the coup took place, but I also knew that I couldn't stop him. When I told him he was mad, he called me a coward, a delusional bookworm, who'd rather spend his whole life dreaming about the past than changing the present. And then he left. The next day, I found him beheaded by a royal guard. They didn't even make it to the castle stairs.
Why didn't you tell the guard about the movement's plans? They could have stopped him.
Yeah, they could have. Only to execute him and all his friends the next morrow. Tahar, believe me, I thought about this quite a lot. about what I could or should have done. And do you want to know the saddest part of it?
What?
I came to the conclusion that I did nothing wrong. He had his mind set, and nothing I could have said would have changed what had been about to happen. In the end, there's only so much you can do.
I'm sorry, Iskrim.
It's all right.
What happened then?
I ran. Not only because I'd rather have died than return to that empty house of ours, but also because they would have arrested me too. Our relationship wasn't a secret, and in their eyes, I was as eccentric as Gilad and his friends. And we all know how dangerous eccentrics are, don't we? I left my family a letter, telling them not to come after me. Bought a horse and rode as far as it would take me before collapsing. That was 9 years ago. I haven't returned ever since.
What about your family? Did you ever hear from them again?
Not directly. Every now and then, I return to a big city to find a dwarf who can tell me about Windwall. But the thought of returning, I don't know. I know it's cruel toward them, but I just don't think I could ever bear setting foot in those cursed stone halls again.
I see. And since then, you've been studying the Shapers?
Yeah. If there really is, as people say, a silver lining to everything, then this would be it. I'm finally doing what I was too afraid to do back in Windwall. I'm living my dream. Though the price I paid for it was high. And you know what, Tahar?
What?
There's a third reason to my fascination with the Shapers I haven't told you about yet. It's Gilak. Stupid as it may sound, there's a part of me who wants to prove him wrong. To show him that the past has value. That it can guide us towards a better world.
I see. Well, thank you for sharing this, Iskrim. I appreciate it.
Yeah. It felt good to talk about it. I didn't expect that. But you're not off the hook yet. The question, remember?
Right. Shoot.
Your past is even more unusual than mine. Growing up with a man like Isamu Tahar as your father? Without a mother? And then the whole thing with the Mage Rebellion? I know you've been through a lot. Now, I was wondering, if you could trade that past you've had for a different one, would you do it?
What kind of a past could I choose? Anything?
Anything.
I wouldn't.
That surprises me, to be honest. But I think I understand. Either way, pleasure speaking with you. Hope this wasn't too grim for you, but then again, you asked for it. Give me some time now, will you?
Sure. Take care, Iskrin.
Yes, Corporal? How can I help?
Well, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. How did you become an assassin?
Why do you want to know?
No particular reason, I suppose. I'm just curious.
I see. In short, my mother sold me. And after an incident, my owner noticed my talents. He started to train me to carry out jobs for him. And when I was 17, he had an accident. I've been an independent assassin ever since.
Your mother sold you? But where? Why?
Because she needed the coin, and already had 4 children to feed. And as for your first question, where there is demand, there is a market. Particularly in a big city like Greyfell. It's not as uncommon as you might believe.
How do you feel about this? Your mother selling you off?
Well, I used to feel strongly about it. Now I've simply accepted it as part of my past. But there are plenty of reasons for that.
You're saying there's a slave market in Greyfell?
Slaves, sex, murdering for pleasure. Just imagine every dark desire you can think of. And you know what the Greyfell Bazaar has to offer. I find it interesting that this surprises you. Didn't you serve in the Royal Army for 8 years?
I only joined shortly before the Mage Wars started, and the Greyfell affairs were the responsibility of the Greyfell Guard. I just didn't know.
Well, now you do. I do not agree with the purity of light in most aspects. But they are right when they say there are many sinners in this world. If you believe in the concept of sin, that is.
Even if she needed the money, that's despicable.
Well, to her credit, she didn't take it lightly. At least as far as I can remember. I was only 7 when that happened.
That doesn't make it better. That's quite the story.
Is it?
So, who is this man who bought you?
I won't talk about that. This chapter of my past is done, and I want it to stay buried.
I understand.
I'm glad you do. So, tell me, Pariah, how did you become the Betrayer's child in the first place? It's rare for a child to defy their own father.
He lost his vision. When he started the rebellion, it was about the safety of mages, but he became more and more radical. I just couldn't stand by and watch anymore.
That's admirable. Well, thank you for sharing this with me. Either way, is there anything else you need?
There's something I've been wondering. How can you kill for a living?
What do you mean? How can I align it with my morals?
Yes.
I don't know if this is the right moment for this conversation. Maybe another time.
Tahar, what is it?
There's one thing I've been wondering about. After we parted at the hideout, what exactly happened? How did you and my father...
Good question. I guess it all started with the relics.
Yes. He was hoping they'd help him to win the war.
Exactly. And there was this one moment when he found the 5th... You see, there were all those bodies. Enemies, but also many of our people. We had shed so much blood, Tahar. But Asamo, he didn't care. If there was any grief in his eyes, I couldn't see it. And as dramatic as it may sound, that's when I finally understood that we had lost our cause. This wasn't about ideals, about us mages anymore. It was about him. Whatever his intentions had become.
And that's the reason Zane, Helena, and I betrayed him. Come on, do you really want to tell us you didn't see that before? The tomes were all about power.
I knew it was about power. But Asamo always told us that he would use that power for the greater good. And it's not that far off. I mean, can't you imagine? With the power of the tomes, we could have united the world. Even made it a better one. No more persecution of the deviant. No more wars, no more suffering.
Maybe. But my father certainly wasn't the one who should lead it.
Maybe not.
Huh. Intriguing.
Huh? What's it like to change form? I've been wondering about that since I met you.
I can imagine. If it taught me one thing, then it's how foolish it is to put the mind above every other aspect of the body. Many people do that, especially scholars or mages.
What do you mean?
Because the shape of our flesh is so much more than just a shell. It defines us. When I take on the form of a wolf, for example, this wolf isn't just me with fangs and paws. It's a different version of myself.
A different version?
Yes. You can't understand if you haven't been there. But I guess you could say that when I'm taking on a creature's form, a part of my mind gets infused with that creature's essence. The thirst for the hunt. Thinking as part of a pack, just to name the most obvious aspects. They meld with my mind. When I was young and first started shifting, the creature always dominated. It was like a feverish dream, and I had almost no control over my actions. With time, it got better.
Did you ever completely lose control when you were in another form?
In the beginning, yes. But the Elder always made sure I was in a controlled environment when I did my first transformations.
How do you learn a new form?
That's complicated. First you have to understand that creature. Then there's what we shamans call the first joy.
How does that work?
I can't explain it. It's like your first bloodshed. It can't be explained, only experienced.
So in theory, could you transform into anything? Even, say, a wyvern? A dragon?
In theory, yes. In practice, there's no known shapeshifter who has ever done that. Save for old orcish legends, maybe.
Why not?
First off, there aren't many dragons around to study. And even if there were, you aren't likely to survive it. Secondly, transforming into something that enormous, it can be lethal. Our minds, our essence just isn't fit to govern such a massive body. Only some years ago, there was talk of an Ash Reaver shifter who had attempted to morph into a troll. He succeeded, but his heart, the troll's heart, stopped before he could take a single step. So you see why most shifters aren't that eager to experiment.
Well, that's definitely interesting. Thanks for taking the time to explain.
Sure.
Back in Bar Gregor, you told me that you think the orc... Do you consider your culture to be, well, inferior?
Inferior? No, not at all. On the contrary, I'm glad to be a fire wielder, and not a human or an elf.
Why?
Because not so unlike the Shapers, your culture is bigoted, strange. You like to tell yourselves you're more than the animals you slaughter for food. You call yourselves civilized, but in the end, You look for the struggle just as anything and anyone else does. But of course you don't admit to it. You want to be better than that. And the result are lies, intrigue, war.
Well, you have a point.
I know. So no, I don't consider our cult. Fools such as Krell was one. They're the reason your race looks down on us. If Zakrak had wanted us to be ever-fighting, ravaging brutes, he wouldn't have given us minds to begin with. Every brawl, every...
In other words, violence and war are good and necessary, but only within measure?
Yes, and it should be learned from. That's where most orcs disagree. They claim to value wisdom, but when asked to choose between words and a club, they always choose the club. And as you see, this is why our culture has stagnated. In its current state, there will never be an orc empire, a great tribe, or the earth-shaking horde Zarek envisioned.
So what you want is to lead your people to a better future?
You make it sound so dramatic. For now, the Fire Wielders are a good start. And by helping you, they will hopefully see that diplomacy and strength don't always contradict each other. After that, we shall see.
Well, thanks for
Sure.
How did you become a shapeshifter?
I was chosen.
And how does that work?
Complicated. Are you sure you want to hear the whole story? Time isn't exactly on our side.
It isn't, but the more I know...
We're not fighting for you, Tahar. We are fighting alongside each other. That's a big difference.
Alongside, then?
Good. Let's make it short, then. Shapeshifting is a gift of Zarek. One that only the...
And how does one become a shaman?
He has to be chosen by a tribe's chieftain. You see, magical talent is a lot rarer among orcs than it is among humans or elves. In my tribe, there was only me and Rain. We both discovered our talent by chance. I, when I was 9, and put out a fire that had broken out in my family's hut. Everybody was asleep. Even the damn fool that had been tasked to stand guard.
So it was your magic that woke you?
No. I needed to take...
Makes sense. What happened then?
I panicked and started screaming, as every child would have. However, the only thing that did was make me inhale the fumes even quicker. My vision blurred and I lost consciousness. When I woke up again, I was on a bed of hay in the village shaman's tent, and everybody was staring at me. I asked what happened and they told me. Just when I had lost consciousness, it had started to rain. Not just a little. It was a full flame. With not even a minute, all the tents in the village had been flooded. The fire wasn't extinguished right away, but was quickly put out by the other orcs that had been awoken by the storm.
That's impressive.
According to my brothers, I had an orange shimmer in my eyes, and was muttering strange words when they took me to the shaman. She told me that was a clear sign that I was gifted, and that I had fire in my blood, as my tribe likes to say. All of a sudden, I was my Cal's pride. It was strange, not just for me, but also for my kin.
Who trained you? The healer?
Yes, but only I woke up every day before dawn, walked for 2 hours, served him, and received my lessons, then returned to my Cal shortly before midnight. It was hard, yes, but it was insightful. Those long walks in the darkness, the solitude at the foot of the mountain where his shack was, they shaped me.
How did your family take it?
Well, they were proud. But they also weren't sure how to treat me anymore. For example, my father stopped taking me out on the hunt, because he was afraid that something might happen, which is ridiculous. Shaman or not, an orc who can't wield a spear isn't an orc at all. Also, my siblings became withdrawn. Jealousy, of course, but also estrangement. All of a sudden, their baby brother had become this strange being, which had apparently been bitten by Zarek himself.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Don't be dramatic. There's worse fates than being the one gifted orc among thousands.
Interesting. And who is this Rain you mentioned earlier?
Did I? Well, that's complicated. I don't want to talk about it.
All right. Now would you look at that?
Huh?
I want to buy some better equipment for the Wayfarer.
Music to my ears. What did you have in mind?
Careful.
Interesting.
Zalraka, what do you need?
I want to train.
All right. Here's what we can do. Let's see.
Yes? Looking for some orcish craftsmanship?
Yes?
Yes, come closer. I'm sure I have just what you need. A fair offer.
What can I do for you today?
Let me see what you have.
I had hoped as much. What do you need?
Bargain, don't you?
Yes? Have you come to see the fruits of my labor?
I'm sure I have just what you need. Come again. May Tiara bless your path.
Understood.
Let me see.
Unbelievable.
Must be quite a change of scenery.
Yes, you could say that. All my life I dreamed of stepping through the portal, and now I did. And it's beautiful. Oh well. It will take some getting used to, that's for certain. There's something else I wanted to discuss with you. I brought some things from the island that could come in handy on your travels. Weapons, trinkets.
I will. Thank you.
For potions and scrolls, I'm sure I have just what you need. Pleasure doing business with you.
Let's see.
Come again. I must say, I'm...
With Mullendir? Yes. It's quite a sight.
It seems unlikely, yes, but yet it happened. Iskrim, the dwarf, told me about it. He said that the rock illusion shielding the entrance vanished as soon as you spoke the words, and that it did not react to Iskrim himself.
Tell me, Tahar, what do you make of that?
Maybe I'm...
But how? I know there is more to you than meets the eye. Something about you is different. Although
I believe we stand on the verge of a change. Things have happened, Tahar. Things, the extent of which we have not even come close to comprehending. And they have set something in motion.
How do you know this? Are you some kind of medium?
A medium? No, quite the opposite. I'm an observer. As you have undoubtedly noticed, I lack the...
And to me, it is evident that the war your father started has done more than simply given birth to the purity of light. It was the first pebble in what will soon become an avalanche.
You're talking about the blood?
Among other things, yes. But as I said, there is more to it. All this, your journey, your role in what Rondar Lacane believes to be a vision set. But let us continue this discussion when I can give you more than vague.
All right.
Why? When?
When something comes up.
Understood.
Yes?
Huh? Yes? What is it?
Back when we met, you told...
Why do you want to know?
No particular reason.
I see. Well, simply put, the guild had two leaders until half a year ago. Me and Lena. Lena and a lot of the other mages...
You're talking about the persecution of mages?
Yes, I am. As Lena said, they are crucifying us, burning us alive, putting masks on our heads that destroy our minds. If there's something wrong with the world, it's people who keep their heads down because they are afraid to stand in for what's right.
Well...
In her reasoning, she did, yes. However, figuratively speaking, a fisher will never be a good military commander, just like a mage will never be a good politician. I must, but these events lie...
You seem bitter.
As I said, I had hoped for a different outcome.
Sure. You got it.
Okay, I'm ready. Sure this place isn't gonna blow up once we insert the second stone, Iskrim?
What? No, I don't think that's likely.
All right, here we go.
Blasted, blistering blazes. I don't know what to say. This is amazing.
But it seems like it destroyed the Nexus.
I'm still not sure I like this. What now, though? Is it strong enough to...
It should be. And you, Tahar, should be the one to do it. You need to connect your mind. That way, you might be able to sense who or... What do you say? Are you ready?
I think so.
Good. Then step into the forge.
And what now? It...
Tahar!
We...
Is it over?
Yes, I think so. By the Guardians, that was... I don't know what just happened.
Describe.
There were... voices.
How do you feel now? I mean, has anything changed?
I think so. Yes. I feel...
Then it worked! Niehaus hammer, we did it! You joined yourself with the Nexus.
So...
You're not a Dreamweaver. I'd feel it if that were the case.
I don't think you are, but you're connected to this place now. And therefore to the Shaper memories.
Does that mean we can finally locate the cause of the song?
You tell me. Think of the song, Tahar. Close your eyes. What do you feel? What do you hear? What do you see?
I'll try.
The failure. That's what you are.
No. That's impossible.
What is it?
My father. I heard his voice.
Your father? So you think he's behind this?
I also heard the voice of a woman. She whispered something.
A woman? Now this is, interesting. But I still don't understand. Do you really think your father is involved in the blood?
I don't think so, but yes. My father is involved in...
This is helpful, but it still does not tell us where to start searching. Think hard, Tahar. Is there anything else?
Yes. There were sounds. Drips. Crickets. Fly.
The eye. Your father's laboratory.
Tiara's breath, of course.
The eye? You mean the marshlands?
Yes. My father had a laboratory there, in the old abandoned manor of House Waite. Nobody was allowed to follow him there, not even Rohan or I.
Well, sounds like we have a lead. The Bloodborne and the Song of the White are somehow connected to your father in his laboratory.
So it seems. Yes.
Tahar, maybe...
What?
Never mind. It doesn't matter.
Rohan, tell me.
There's nothing to tell.
Well, I'll send a messenger to inform Lacane as soon as possible. He'll want to be there. Let's get prepared.
Alright, why not?